The sky was a serene blue, stretching endlessly above the bustling cities below. It was a peaceful day, just like any other. People walked the streets, lost in their daily routines, unaware of the impending doom that loomed just beyond the stars. The sun shone brightly, casting long shadows on the ground. In the distance, children laughed and played, unaware that this calm was about to be shattered in an instant. At a military base on the outskirts of the city, Lieutenant Sam Carter stared at the radar screen, his brow furrowed with confusion. The readouts were showing something strange. An unusual energy surge coming from deep space. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. He dismissed it at first, chalking it up to a glitch in the system, but then the signal grew stronger. He called over his superior, General Blake, who was busy with a stack of paperwork in the command center. "Sir, you might want to take a look at this," Sam said, his voice tense. General Blake walked over, eyeing the radar screen. The strange energy signature was now unmistakable. "What are we looking at, Carter?" "It's coming from somewhere beyond the solar system," Sam replied, tapping the screen. "And it's massive. Whatever it is, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered." Before the general could respond, the alarms blared. The lights flickered, and the base went into full lockdown mode. Sam and Blake exchanged a glance, their faces pale. This was no drill. Something was happening. Then, without warning, the sky above the city began to change. A deep rumble shook the ground, causing windows to rattle and lights to flicker. The sound was like thunder, but it came from the heavens. People on the streets looked up, their faces filled with confusion and fear as dark clouds began to form in the sky. What was happening? The calm, peaceful day had turned into a nightmare. Suddenly, the first ship appeared. It wasn't like anything they had ever seen before. An enormous dark silhouette that blotted out the sun. It was massive, impossibly large, like a mountain in the sky. The ship's surface was smooth, with sharp edges and glowing lights that pulsed in a rhythmic pattern. It was a massive warship, hovering over the city like an ominous shadow. The people below gasped in disbelief, staring up at the alien craft. Panic spread like wildfire. People screamed and ran for cover, but there was nowhere to hide. The ship moved slowly, methodically, as though it were a predator circling its prey. And then, one by one, more ships appeared. Dozens of them, each one larger and more intimidating than the last. The sky was filled with a terrifying array of alien ships, each of them dark and imposing. They formed a perfect formation, like a fleet ready to strike. The city's communication towers buzzed with frantic radio transmissions, but no one could make contact. The entire global communication network went down. Phones, radios, and televisions flickered and died. The world was plunged into silence. At the military base, General Blake and Sam watched in horror as the ships descended, blocking out the sun. The enemy had arrived. In the command center, officers scrambled to make sense of the situation. They attempted to send military jets into the air, but the moment they took off, the alien ships fired energy blasts from their lower hulls, taking down the planes in an instant. The air was filled with bright explosions as the jets were obliterated. "We have to get to the bunker," General Blake shouted to Sam, his voice strained. There was no time to waste. They rushed through the corridors, making their way to the underground bunker. As they reached the entrance, Blake turned to Sam, his expression hardening. "Whatever happens, Carter, we're in this together." Sam nodded, but deep down, he felt the weight of the situation. They were facing something far beyond their comprehension, something they were not prepared for. But there was no time for fear now. They had to survive. Outside, the alien ships had begun their assault. A bright light flashed from the lid ship, and the city's tallest buildings crumbled to the ground. The shockwave was powerful enough to knock over cars and send debris flying through the air. The first wave of destruction had begun. As the ships continued their descent, the enemy unleashed their weapons. Laser beams shot down from the skies, turning the streets into infernos. Explosions rang out in every direction. The ground shook violently as bombs of unimaginable power slammed into the earth, creating massive craters. People screamed as they tried to flee, but it was impossible. There was nowhere to run. The enemy was everywhere. Sam and Blake, now safe in the bunker, could hear the distant sounds of destruction above them. The hum of the alien ships filled the air, and the faint vibrations of the blasts rattled the walls of their underground shelter. They knew that their world was no more. "We need to communicate with the rest of the military," Sam said urgently, his fingers flying over the control panel in front of him. "We can't just sit here and wait to die. We need to find out who these aliens are and what they want." But as he tried to send out a message, the screen blinked to life with an eerie red glow. The transmission wasn't from Earth. It was from the aliens. The message was short, yet chilling. "This is the end of your world. Your species is doomed. Surrender or face total annihilation." Blake's face darkened as he read the message. There was no room for negotiation. The enemy had come to conquer, and they weren't leaving until Earth was destroyed. Sam clenched his fists, his mind racing. But one thought kept repeating in his head. One human had survived. He had to find a way to fight back. Maybe the enemy made a mistake. Maybe the last living human had a chance to turn the tide. But for now, all they could do was wait and prepare. Earth was under siege, and humanity's survival depended on the decisions made in the coming days. The invasion had begun. The fate of the world was now in the hands of the survivors. The ground trembled beneath them, a constant reminder that their world was no longer their own. In the underground bunker, the sound of distant explosions echoed, and the harsh, unyielding hum of the alien ships above seemed to press down on them, as if the universe itself was suffocating in fear. Sam Carter stood by a flickering communication console, his brow furrowed as he tried, again and again, to get a signal out to the rest of the world. But the enemy's jamming technology had cut off all communication, leaving them isolated and powerless. General Blake stood near the war map, his face grim. The calm, decisive leader Sam had always known seemed to have vanished. Now, all that remained was a man overwhelmed by the scale of the invasion. In just a few short hours, everything had changed. The aliens were no longer just invaders. They were conquerors. Every city had been decimated, and Earth's defenses had crumbled under their advanced weapons. It was clear. Humanity was losing. But Sam couldn't accept that. He couldn't stand there and do nothing while his people were being wiped out. The feeling of helplessness burned deep inside him, but something else, something stronger, began to rise. A spark of defiance. "Sir," Sam said, breaking the heavy silence, "we can't just wait here. There's got to be something we can do, something we can fight with." Blake's gaze shifted toward him, his expression weary. "What do you suggest, Carter?" "We don't have the weapons to take them on. We don't even know what they want, let alone how to fight back." Sam's hands tightened into fists. He knew the general was right. But in his heart, something pushed him forward. He wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. Humanity hadn't fought this hard for survival only to be crushed by a superior enemy. There had to be a way. "We need to regroup," Sam said, looking around at the few soldiers who had survived the initial onslaught. They were battered, exhausted, and scared. But they were still here. "We need to organize and hit them where it hurts. We have to find a weakness. It's not about how many we are. It's about what we're willing to do with what we have." Blake hesitated, his eyes narrowing in thought. The weight of their situation was heavy, but Sam's words began to stir something in him, a glimmer of hope. He had seen it before, in the eyes of soldiers who were outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched, but who had fought on with everything they had. He knew what Sam was trying to say, even if it seemed impossible. Blake nodded slowly, his voice firming up. "All right, we don't have much time, but we fight back. We find a way. We're not giving up without a fight." In the bunker's main room, Sam gathered the surviving soldiers, along with the remaining engineers and scientists who had managed to escape the destruction. They stood in a circle, their faces grim, but there was something in their eyes, something that had been missing during the last few hours of chaos. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were fighters. "We don't know exactly what the aliens want," Sam began, addressing the group. "But we do know they've made one mistake. They left us alive. They think we're weak, that we're finished. But they're wrong. We're not just a species that rolls over. We're humans, and we have something they don't: the will to survive." The soldiers nodded, their faces hardening with resolve. They were scared, yes, but they were also filled with the fierce, unrelenting spirit of humanity. Sam could see it in their eyes. They weren't ready to give up, not when there was a chance to fight back. "Here's what we're going to do," Sam continued, pointing to the makeshift map on the wall. "We're going to form small strike teams. Each group will focus on one alien ship. We've got limited ammo, but we do have some experimental tech, stuff the enemy hasn't seen yet. Our goal is to disrupt their communication and cause as much damage as possible. We need to make them realize we're not an easy target." The soldiers leaned in closer, listening intently. There was no time for hesitation. This was their moment to act. "What about reinforcements?" asked Private Keller, one of the soldiers who had fought bravely earlier. "We don't have reinforcements," Sam said grimly. "But we do have each other. That's all we need." Sam's words stirred something deep inside the group. For the first time since the invasion began, there was a sense of purpose. They weren't going to sit idly by while the world crumbled. They were going to fight for it. Outside the bunker, the alien ships continued their slow, methodical descent. From beneath the surface, the humans prepared for their first strike. The stakes were higher than ever, and the uncertainty of success weighed heavily on each soldier's shoulders. But they couldn't let fear control them. They had to act now. As the small teams were formed and equipped, Sam found himself thinking of his family back home, of the life he had before the invasion. He thought of his sister, his parents. He didn't know if he would ever see them again, but the thought of them gave him strength. This fight wasn't just for survival, it was for the future, for the chance to rebuild. The first wave of soldiers, armed with makeshift weapons and newly crafted tech, moved out of the bunker. They slipped into the shadows, making their way toward the enemy's forces, their hearts pounding. It felt like they were walking into the lion's den, but they knew they had no choice. As they approached the first enemy ship, Sam's team stopped behind a large rock formation, hidden from view. They could see the ship now, a massive structure hovering silently in the air, glowing with unnatural light. Its sleek, intimidating form was nothing like anything humanity had ever designed. "On my signal," Sam whispered. "We move fast, stay low, and take them by surprise." The team nodded, their faces set with determination. Sam could see the fear in their eyes, but there was something else there too: courage. They had nothing left to lose. This was their world, their fight, and they weren't going to let the enemy take it without a battle. The moment was now. Sam took a deep breath and gave the signal. The soldiers rushed forward, their hearts racing, as they launched their attack on the unsuspecting alien ship. For the first time since the invasion began, they felt the power of human spirit. The belief that even in the darkest hour, when everything seems lost, the will to survive would always shine through. The battle had begun, and the enemy had no idea what they had awoken. The night was silent except for the distant hum of the alien ships hovering above. Beneath the looming shadows of those massive warships, Sam Carter's heart pounded in his chest, the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he led his team deeper into enemy territory. It had been hours since they launched their first strike, and though they had made a small dent in the alien forces, the real fight was just beginning. Sam's team had managed to sabotage one of the smaller alien drones, which had given them some crucial information: a weakness in the enemy's communication system. The enemy's advanced technology was a force to be reckoned with, But Sam had learned one thing from his years of military service. Every system, no matter how powerful, had a flaw. If they could exploit that flaw, they could turn the tide of the war. But it wasn't going to be easy. "Stay sharp," Sam whispered as he crouched behind a crumbling building, his eyes scanning the surroundings. The team was now on the outskirts of the enemy's main base, and it was more heavily guarded than anything they had encountered so far. The alien patrols roamed the streets in perfect formation, their glowing weapons scanning the area for any signs of life. The team was low on ammo and supplies. They had no backup. Every step they took brought them closer to danger. The odds of surviving this mission were slim at best, but Sam knew that if they didn't act now, humanity was as good as finished. They couldn't wait for reinforcements or a miracle. They had to fight with everything they had. Sam motioned for his team to move forward, and they followed, creeping through the broken streets of the ruined city, staying out of sight as much as possible. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and burnt metal, the remnants of the destruction that the alien forces had unleashed. The city had once been a place of life and energy, but now it was nothing more than a graveyard. "Carter, are we close?" whispered Private Keller, one of the soldiers who had been with Sam since the beginning. His voice was tight with tension, his eyes constantly darting around. "We're close," Sam replied, his voice low. "The alien command center is just ahead. We need to disable their communication grid first, then take out their weapon systems." Keller nodded, his face grim. He had seen the devastation that the aliens had brought, and now he was ready to take the fight to them. Like the rest of the team, he had nothing left to lose. They were fighting not just for their survival, but for the future of every human being on Earth. The team continued to advance, using the ruins of the city as cover. The alien forces were everywhere, but they seemed unaware of the humans creeping through the wreckage. Sam had always been a strategist, and he had come up with a plan, one that relied on stealth, speed, and precision. They couldn't afford a prolonged fight. They had to hit fast and hit hard. As they neared the alien base, the tension in the air thickened. Sam's pulse quickened as they neared their target, a massive structure, pulsating with an eerie alien glow. The command center was a fortress, heavily guarded by alien soldiers and technology. It was their last hope. If they could take it down, they might stand a chance. "All right, team," Sam said in a whisper, crouching behind a pile of debris. "We'll breach from the east side. Keller, take the left flank. Jacobs, you're with me. We'll hit the right." The soldiers nodded, each one understanding their role. They had trained for moments like this, but nothing could prepare them for what lay ahead. They were going into the heart of the enemy's stronghold, where every step could be their last. With a final nod, Sam gave the signal. The team sprang into action, moving as one toward the alien command center. Sam's heart raced as they neared their target, the adrenaline flooding his system, sharpening his focus. They were close now, too close to turn back. Just as they reached the entrance, an alien patrol emerged from the shadows. Sam froze, his breath catching in his throat. The enemy soldiers were tall, their armor sleek and menacing, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. They moved with precision, their eyes scanning the area for any sign of human life. But Sam's team was ready. They moved quickly, silently. Keller and Jacobs darted to the left, their weapons raised, and in a flash, they took down the first two alien soldiers. The rest of the team followed suit, eliminating any threats in their path with swift, calculated movements. The noise of the battle was minimal, but each shot fired felt like a thunderclap in the stillness of the night. It was only a matter of seconds before the aliens realized what was happening. The enemy soldiers began to react, but it was too late. Sam and his team had already breached the outer defenses. They raced inside, the command center looming before them like the mouth of a beast. It was now or never. As they moved through the dark corridors, Sam could feel the weight of their mission pressing down on him. This was their chance, the only chance humanity had left. If they failed here, There would be no more hope. The alien forces would overrun Earth, and there would be no more resistance. The team reached the main control room, and Sam immediately moved to the console, his fingers flying over the alien technology. The system was unlike anything they had ever seen, but Sam had spent years studying alien tech. He had learned how to adapt, how to reverse engineer their weapons and defenses. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Got it, Sam muttered under his breath as the system came to life, the screens flashing with unfamiliar symbols. He quickly disabled the communication grid and started uploading a virus that would cripple the enemy's weapon systems. But just as he thought they were in the clear, an alarm blared, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. They had been discovered. "Move, move," Sam shouted, and the team rushed into position, weapons raised. The alien soldiers were coming. It was a full assault now, no more sneaking around. The fight for survival had begun in earnest. The team fired their weapons, taking down the first wave of soldiers, but more came, pouring into the room, their weapons flashing with deadly energy. The fight was relentless, the air thick with the sound of gunfire and the crackling of alien energy blasts. Sam's heart pounded as he fought alongside his team, determined to finish what they had started. As the battle raged on, Sam could see the end in sight. The enemy had underestimated humanity's resolve, their ability to adapt, to survive. This was their moment, no matter how impossible it seemed. With a final surge of energy, Sam and his team overwhelmed the alien soldiers, their victory hard-earned but sweet. The control room was theirs. The enemy had been defeated, at least for now. But the fight wasn't over. The war was just beginning. And Sam knew that if humanity was to survive, they would have to keep fighting, because the aliens were not done yet. The battle for Earth was far from over, but one thing was certain: humanity's spirit was unstoppable. The air in the control room was thick with tension. The hum of alien technology reverberated through the walls as Sam Carter and his team watched their screens, their faces bathed in the eerie glow of their displays. Their mission had been clear: infiltrate, sabotage, and strike at the heart of the enemy's command center. Now, they had done it. But despite their success, the battle wasn't over. Far from it. Sam stared at the monitor before him, where the countdown clock ticked steadily toward zero. The virus they had uploaded to the enemy system had caused a temporary shutdown, but it was only a matter of time before the alien forces rebooted their systems and countered their efforts. The clock was running out, and Earth's fate hung in the balance. "We have minutes, not hours," Sam said, his voice grim. "We've crippled their weapons systems and communication, but we need to finish this. If we don't, they'll just rebuild. We can't let that happen." General Blake, standing beside Sam, clenched his fists, his expression resolute. "We've come this far. We're not backing down now." Outside the command center, the world seemed to be holding its breath. The alien ships hovered ominously above, their dark forms a stark contrast against the distant stars. From the shattered cities below, the remnants of humanity had been scattered, with small pockets of resistance trying to fight back. Sam's team was the last real chance for Earth. If they could hold the line just long enough, they might have a chance to turn the tide once and for all. But the enemy wasn't finished. They had underestimated humanity's determination, but they had learned from their mistakes. Sam knew that reinforcements would be arriving soon. This was their final chance to act. If they could not destroy the heart of the alien fleet now, the war would drag on for years. There would be no second chances. "We need to take out their main ship," Sam said, looking at Blake. "It's the source of their power. If we can destroy it, we disrupt their entire operation." Blake nodded. "I'm with you. Let's finish this." The team moved quickly, gathering their weapons and preparing for the final assault. The air was filled with the sound of hurried footsteps, the tension palpable in every movement. They had no backup, no reinforcements. Their mission was clear: take out the alien flagship and end this war. As they made their way to the surface, the alien presence seemed to grow more oppressive. The sky was dark, lit only by the distant glow of explosions and fires that still raged in the city. The alien ships above moved with a terrifying precision, as though they were waiting for something. Waiting for them. Sam's team made their way across the devastated landscape, moving silently through the rubble. They knew the alien forces would be on high alert now, and their every move would be watched. As they neared the launch pad, a massive alien ship, sleek, dark, and foreboding, loomed in the distance. It was the heart of the invasion, the one ship that controlled everything. It was nearly impossible to get close to it, but Sam knew they had no choice. "This is it," Sam muttered. "If we're going to do this, we need to hit hard and fast." The team crouched behind the wreckage of a building, their eyes fixed on the alien ship. The air was filled with the sound of distant explosions, the crackling of energy beams firing from the alien ships above. It felt as though the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for the final confrontation. "On my signal, we move," Sam whispered. He looked at each of his team members, their faces grim but determined. "We can't afford to make a single mistake. We do this together, or not at all." The team nodded. They had come too far to back down now. Sam gave the signal, and they moved out. The chaos of battle swirled around them as they sprinted toward the alien flagship. The air crackled with the sounds of laser fire as alien soldiers began to take notice of their movements. Sam fired back, taking down 2 soldiers with precision shots. But there was no time to waste. The flagship was close, and their target was in sight. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath them. The enemy had activated their defenses. The ship's energy shields flared to life, and massive beams of light shot down from the ship, sweeping across the battlefield. Sam and his team dove for cover, narrowly avoiding the deadly blasts. The alien ships above began to move, and Sam could see them deploying more troops. "Keep moving," Sam shouted, leading the charge toward the ship. "We can't let them regroup." As they neared the flagship, the alien forces became more aggressive. The final battle was upon them, and every step they took brought them closer to the heart of the enemy. Sam's heart raced as he fired his weapon, taking down soldiers in rapid succession. The team followed closely behind, their guns blazing, as they advanced into the heart of the enemy's defenses. They reached the flagship's base, where the entrance was heavily guarded by a wall of alien soldiers. Sam and his team had only moments before the enemy reinforced their position. They didn't have time for subtlety. They needed to break through, and fast. "Go," Sam shouted, signaling his team to move forward. They charged the entrance, guns raised, firing with deadly precision. The alien soldiers, caught off guard by their ferocity, were quickly overwhelmed. The team pressed on, pushing through the enemy lines. Inside the flagship, the air was thick with tension. The team moved through the dark, metallic corridors, their weapons raised, every shadow a potential threat. Sam's eyes were focused, every sense alert. He could feel the heartbeat of the ship, the pulse of energy running through its massive form. This was it, the core of the enemy's power. Finally, they reached the central control room. The alien leader, a towering figure cloaked in dark armor, stood at the helm, overseeing the destruction of Earth. He turned slowly, his piercing eyes locking with Sam's. "You are persistent," the alien leader said, his voice low and menacing. "But it will not save you." Without hesitation, Sam fired, his shot hitting the alien leader square in the chest. But the leader's armor absorbed the blast, and he advanced, his own weapon raising. The battle had reached its climax. Sam and his team fought with everything they had. The alien leader was powerful, but Sam's team had something the aliens didn't: the will to survive. Together, they launched a final, desperate attack, disabling the flagship's core systems and causing an explosion that rocked the ship to its core. In the final moments, as the flagship began to crumble, Sam stood victorious. The ship was breaking apart, its energy systems failing. The alien forces were in disarray, their once unshakable grip on Earth finally loosening. As the last of the alien ships fell from the sky, Sam looked around at his team. They had done it. They had fought against impossible odds and won. Humanity had survived. But the battle wasn't just for survival. It was a testament to the power of the human spirit. A reminder that, no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity would always rise. And in the end, it was the courage, unity, and unwavering determination of one human spirit that made all the difference. The final stand had been made, and humanity had prevailed.